Okay, thank you. Good evening. Welcome to this Development Control Committee meeting of Burnley Borough Council on the 1st of October 2020. Council members in attendance are as follows. Councillor Frank Cant, Chair of Development Control. Councillor Afrasia Banwar. Councillor Gordon Birtwistle. Councillor Saeed Chowdhury. Councillor Sue Graham. Councillor Sarah Hall. Councillor John Harbour. Councillor Alan Hosker. Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq, Councillor Marcus Johnson, Councillor Peter Gill, Councillor Jeff Sumner. Officers in attendance are Paul Gattrell, Head of Housing and Development Control, Alec Hickey, Planning Team Manager, David Talbot, Senior Solicitor for the Council, Amanda Rumbelow, Property Solicitor for the Council, Emma Barker, Litigation Solicitor, Christine Wood, Democracy Officer, Alison McEwen, Democracy Officer, streaming the meeting, Governance Manager Chris Gay, hosting the meeting, and also Molly Wiggin from Legal and Democratic Services. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair.
Hi, Chair. Can I just say, it's Councillor Lubna Khan. I did log on at 6:30 and say hi to Democracy, but I don't think he heard me. So I am here.
Noted. Thank you, Councillor Khan, and apologies. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Actually, Chris, can I also say, Councillor Anne Kelly, I don't think I heard you say her name. Is she in the meeting? I think she is.
Councillor Anne Kelly is in the meeting.
I can see her with the thumbs up.
Yeah, okay. So it's just Councillor Mike Payne, who's not here, and Councillor Neil Mottershead.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So if I begin the meeting with the first item, which is apologies, I know we've got apologies from Councillor Mottershead.
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And have we had any other apologies?
I have not received any other apologies, Chair.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, minutes of the last meeting. Will someone move those? Yeah.
Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Graham, and
I'll second it, Chair.
yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
And do we have any additional items of business?
No, Chair.
Right. And any declarations of interest?
Yes, we have one declaration of interest, I believe, from Councillor Afrasia Banwar. Is that correct, Councillor Banwar?
Yeah.
Is Councillor Banwar there? Councillor Banwar?
Sorry?
Councillor Banwar?
Yeah, that's my sister. Yeah,
I believe you declared an interest in item 6G.
6G, yeah.
Yes. Can I ask Councillor Banwar, will you be staying in the meeting or will you be leaving the meeting at that point?
Yeah, no, she's a bright young girl, isn't she? Yeah.
It sounds, Chair, like there is a telephone call conversation going on in the back.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. But I won't.
Chair, I'd suggest we continue with business. The declaration of interest has been noted.
Right. Okay then. Yeah, and exclusion of the public. Would someone?
Agenda, Chair.
As per agenda.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Right. So next item is the list of deposited plans and applications. The first one, which is 6A, is Technology House, Magnesium Way, Hapton, I understand that that our solicitor, David Talbot, wishes to say something on this item. Whenever you wish to come in, I'm not sure.
Yes, no, Chair, yeah.
Right.
Members will be aware that the Public Bodies Access to Meetings Act 1960, which requires meetings to be open to the public, has been modified by statutory instruments during the coronavirus pandemic to allow meetings to be held by remote access, as indeed we are doing this evening. Unfortunately, at the committee's recent meeting on the 3rd of September, when members may recall that this application was on the agenda, the YouTube stream failed, which meant that the requirements of public attendance, as modified by the regulations, weren't met, and that the decision taken on the item that evening was therefore not valid. The 3rd of September meeting was a very short one, and the difficulties with the YouTube stream were not therefore apparent until after the meeting had finished. Further steps have now been taken to prevent these issues occurring in future, and this application has been brought back before the committee this evening in order that a lawful decision can now be taken. Just wanted to clarify that before we commenced. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, David. Would Alec, I believe you're presenting this report.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Yep, so the application is APP 2018-0241. As you mentioned, it's Technology House, Magnesium Way at Hapton. Members may also know the site as the Exertis warehouse. The application is at the committee following objections, of which there were 2 rounds of consultations. The site itself was granted permission back in 2010 for just over 26 hectares of employment and residential development, which has subsequently been built out over the years, now with a number of occupiers. The site itself forms part of the wider protected employment site, commonly known as Burnley Bridge, and is located on the west of the borough boundary. The main vehicular access into the site comes from the new bridge over the Leeds and Liverpool Canal at Junction 9, and also does have pedestrian and cycle routes that run through along the Paddy and Greenway. The background to the application, as you'll be aware, it was a 2018 application. Unfortunately, as part of previous applications, a condition restricted the number of vehicles which could access the site to 248. As you'll see in the background section of the report, there has been a number of variation applications which have addressed that following working with Highways England and Lancashire County Council, which has meant that the application can come forward. The proposal itself is for an extension on the southern elevation of the building, some over 19,000 square metres of V8 space, which is broken down further for 121 square metres of hub and office space, 4-level loading doors and 10 dock levels and a service yard to service the existing building. The extension itself is 186 metres in length and 104 metres in width, with a maximum height of 18 metres, and materials are to match those used on the existing building. With regard to access and parking, there is no change, no additional are proposed, as they were considered at the time of the original application when the warehouse was built. And landscaping, as you'll see in the report, there are plans that show a mix of native shrub planting along the southern and eastern boundaries, as well as the retention of existing woodland. In terms of consultation responses, you'll be aware that the late report that came in on the last time it was at the committee from LCC Highways, who raised no objection subject to conditions. Again, no objection for Highways England, the Leeds Flood Authority, the Ecology, Environmental Health, or the Coal Authority, subject to relevant conditions. There has been 2 rounds of consultation, given the period between the application first coming in 2018 and amended plans coming in from earlier this year. At which point we have received an objection from a local councillor, the Padiham Community Group, and 20 individual letters from neighbours as part of the first consultation. When reconsulted in June of this year, we had an additional 5 letters. Again, I won't go through all the objections they are set out in the report. With regards to the principle of the development, the site does sit on the wider protected employment site, and policy EMP3 does support the expansion and upgrading of businesses where they do not give rise to unacceptable negative impacts on surrounding uses, residential, amenity or the environment. So moving on to the main considerations. With regards to design and appearance, obviously whilst we appreciate that it is just a continuation of the existing building, which is a prefabricated grey that moves along in panels, it would ensure that it does match the existing building and doesn't result in anything incongruous. And given its purpose as a warehouse, it's seen as an appropriate design style. With regards to impact on the highway, as previously mentioned, there's been a lot of work on old applications to address the vehicle cap and any potential vehicle manoeuvres being a problem getting onto the employment site. There's been no objection from either the local highways authority or Highways England, and therefore it's considered acceptable in that regard. In terms of residential amenity, we are aware that a number of objections have come in about the size and location of the building. However, taking into consideration its distance from existing residential properties and the height of the building, whilst it would have some effect on long-term views, it wouldn't result in any unacceptable adverse impacts on residential amenity, as loss of outlook isn't a material planning consideration. And taking that into account, officers are satisfied that it's acceptable from a residential amenity point of view. Again, in terms of impact on ecology, much of the site has remained cleared since the original development was built, and the additional ecology reports have raised no concerns subject to conditions. There's no objection on drainage grounds. It's considered that they can be controlled adequately through condition. As such, we're recommending approval subject to the conditions set out and those in the update report. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alec. I'm glad you mentioned the update report. I presume all members have seen this late correspondence, which basically confirms what Alec has just said. If anyone hasn't seen it, would you like any time to read through that one? No? Right, that's fine.
Chair, Councillor Hosker has requested to speak.
Yeah, Councillor Hosker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As we know tonight, this has already been voted on once, and it's obviously it's a rerun. So what I would ask for, same again, please. It's same respect. I'd like a name vote, please.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
In order to I was going to say you need a seconder, and
I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Do we need a majority of members? How many members do we need?
We need to take a vote, Chair, on whether to go ahead with the name vote.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Can we facilitate that?
Yes. Can I? Right. Okay. Yeah. Councillor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Afrez Anwar, are you supporting a name vote? Are you for or against?
Against.
Against. Councillor Gordon Birtwistle, are you for or against a name vote?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Frank Camp, are you for or against a name vote? Councillor Cant?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm against.
You're against, yeah. Councillor Chowdhury, are you for or against in name vote?
Against.
Against, thank you. Councillor Peter Gill, are you for or against in name vote?
I am for.
You're for. Councillor Sue Graham, for or against?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Hall, for or against?
Against.
Councillor John Harbour, for or against?
For.
Councillor Alan Hosker, for or against?
For is a goodwill gesture.
Councillor Ishtiaq, Mohammed Ishtiaq, for or against?
For.
Councillor Marcus Johnston,
For.
Councillor Anne Kelly,
Against.
Councillor Lubna Khan, Councillor Lubna Khan, are you for or against a name vote?
Did say against. I don't know if you heard me. Against.
No, sorry, I didn't. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner, are you for or against?
I'm for, thank you.
You're for, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 6 votes. So we do need to take a name vote. Thank you. So we'll now vote on the application.
Chair,
Yeah.
can I just speak on this first before we take a vote?
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, councillor.
Right, thank you, Chair. I note I'm voting against, and I've asked my other colleague to vote against tonight. We serve, as you know, in Aptonwood Park, and the people we serve in Aptonwood Park are against this application. So we're going against this application in support of the residents we serve. I want that made clear on record. Thank you.
Okay, if we'll take the vote now then on application 6A. Councillor Afreez Anwar, are you for or against the application? For or approval against the application?
Chair.
I think Councillor Graham wishes to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. That's right.
I did put in a right to speak. Can I say, is Councillor Hosker whipping the Tory vote?
Good shout. Good shout, yeah.
Sounds like it.
I'm not. It's up to Councillor Gill what he does. Right, I'm just letting you know, Sue Graham. We are representing residents and we're voting accordingly. We'd already spoken it previously, and that's our choice. If Peter Gill, Councillor Gill wants to change his mind, that's entirely up to Peter Gill. He's not being forced into voting.
Chair, Councillor Gill has requested to speak as well.
Yeah, go ahead, councillor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I can guarantee you there's no whipping been done whatsoever, Councillor Graham. This is in my ward. I've had numerous emails against this thing. So, unfortunately, I'll be going against, as we are going to be supporting our residents. It's a shame other council groups don't do the same.
Chair, Councillor Graham and Councillor Harbour requested to speak.
Councillor Gill was not on the committee the first time it came, and I believe, Councillor Hosker, that when you spoke first, you spoke for the two of you, which sounds to me like it's a whipped vote.
Well, I'm sorry if it came across that way, but as you know, Peter Gill's new to our committee tonight, and I know we'd already spoke about it previously. If I've took offence, well, if I've come across wrong, I apologise, but it weren't meant that way. What that do for you, Susan?
Right, who was the next one to speak?
Councillor Harbour Chair is requested to speak as well.
Yeah, Councillor Harbour, please.
Thank you, Chair. I can appreciate that Councillor Oscar and Gill may think they're speaking up for the residents, and I appreciate that point of view. But normally when you do, you actually give planning reasons why you want to turn an application down. And we haven't heard any reasons or any planning reasons whether we should be voting for or against this application from Councillor Oscar. Also, I have to say that, and I believe he has apologised for making it sound like he's whipped his new councillor into voting his way, but it also sounds to me as if it was all predetermined as well. But the points have been made, and I believe the committee are ready to vote. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, John. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Can I just say to Councillor Harbour this? It wasn't prejudged, and it hasn't come across that way. But don't forget, John, we're on a rerun. This has already been decided. The only thing I'm saying to you is it's probably going to be going favour the same as it did last time. I'm just asking for a bit of common sense. We know we didn't come with no excuse because we know it was prejudged at the last meeting, so it's going to be a re-vote. I'm just asking, can't for a name vote. We know we give us reasons at last meeting. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Is anyone else? Before we go to the vote, can we
No,
go?
no other requests.
have we- Right, yeah. So have we got, well, we need a mover and a seconder for whatever. Have we got a mover for this
Sorry, Chair, just before you go
application?
sorry, Chair, just before you go to the vote, Councillor Oscar just said there it was all decided at the last meeting. Well, as a former chair of planning, he will know that if a decision comes back to a committee, you basically start again with that application. And we haven't done that tonight, basically. We're treating this as a new application. I think we were advised to do that by the officers. So by all means, let's go to the vote, but let's make sure we've got the facts right before we do go to vote. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks. Right, so have we got a mover?
Chair, I'll move that planning permission's granted.
Right,
I'll second it.
Right, yeah, thank you. Right, so that's Councillor Johnson and moving, and Councillor Graham seconding. So
Thank you.
can we?
Right. Proceed
Councillor
with the
Kelly
vote.
that seconded.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Councillor Anwar, do you approve or refuse the application?
For
approval?
yeah, for approval.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Gordon Birchwhistle, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Approval. Councillor Frank Cant, for approval or
Yeah,
refusal?
for approval.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Gill, for approval or refusal?
Refusal.
Thank you. Councillor Saeed Chowdhury, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Sue Graham, for approval or refusal?
Unmute yourself, Sue.
I
Sorry,
try to
Councillor-
unmute myself and somebody mutes me as soon as I do it.
Oh,
Who's
dear.
doing that? For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Hall, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor John Harbour, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Alan Hosker, for approval or refusal?
Refusal.
Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Marcus Johnston, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Councillor Anne Kelly, for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Councillor Lubna Khan, for approval or to refuse?
Approval.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner,
Approval.
for approval.
Approval,
Yeah, the application is approved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. So we move on now to the application for 122 Burnley Road, Briarcliff. Would you like to move your report, Alec?
Yes, Chair, thank you. So application FUL 2020-0290 is before committee as we have received objections. The application is for the conversion of the existing two-storey house into 2 apartments with 1 on each floor. The application site itself proposes no external alterations following amendments to the application, and it is located in the Hall site conservation area. With regards to consultation responses, following receipt of amended plans, there's no objection from the Highways Authority. No comments have been received from Environmental Health. As noted, we did receive 2 objections, one in regards to the living accommodation adjacent the upstairs bedrooms that could potentially give rise to noise, and the second being parking and highways. With regards to the principle of the development in the local plan, it does set out that there is a need for all types and sizes of housing in Burnley, and therefore the principle of conversion is considered acceptable. As noted, there's no external alterations proposed, and therefore no requirement to assess any design elements. With regard to residential amenity, you'll be aware we've had a number of these applications recently at committee. Methods of control in building controls set that there should only be a certain noise level of transmission between walls. That's generally consistent with what would be there already, and therefore we deem that it's acceptable in that regard. In terms of the objection that we received from parking, again, there's no objection from highways, and the comments received relate to access to the rear or the shops. Officers who visited the site have noted that there's unlikely to be any cars from the existing property parking at the rear, given the nature of the site, and therefore we don't consider that the application would give rise to any harmful impacts, and therefore recommend support subject to the conditions set out. Thank you, Chair.
Yep, thank you very much. Any member wishing to speak?
No one.
Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Things are not working properly. And you just have to excuse me, I've not got very much voice, which is a blessing to some people.
Yeah.
A couple of comments and questions, apart from the fact that the work's already started and the whole place has been ripped to pieces. It is in a conservation area, and the one thing that I would have asked them to save is the front window, which is the original from when the house was built 130 years ago. And I think it's a shame that those original windows are just being ripped out and smashed. The other thing which I'm not comfortable with is the fact that the shower and bathroom is virtually in the kitchen. It's kind of on the end, but it's like next to the kitchen, which doesn't sound very pleasant. And I gather that the front door is now going to be used for both flats. Sorry. And where the downstairs flat is, will that have a wall to stop whoever's going upstairs going into the downstairs flat? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Would you like to come in, Alec?
Yes, certainly through you, Chair, if that's okay. Yes, it's unfortunate, obviously, that some works can commence without the need for any planning consent, and that includes the sort of the loss of, obviously, to the works that they've done inside. Had we been in a position where we could have controlled retention of certain elements, then that's certainly something that we would have liked to have been able to do. But that was removed from us by virtue of permitted development. Coming on to the second part of the question in terms of the access through the front door, yes, there is a separate door again for allowing the resident of the bottom flat to have sort of their own secure access. It's not both occupiers coming through. Sorry, both occupiers. You wouldn't be able to access the downstairs apartment if you're the upstairs resident. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Anne? Any other member wishing to contribute?
No.
One comment, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Oscar.
Same again, innit, Chair? People doing work before they make the planning, before they get planning permission. It's the same old thing, and it comes before planning after to make a decision on it. It's just beyond me sometimes.
Right. Any other member?
No other requests at this point, Chair.
Sorry, Chris?
No other requests to speak at this point, Chair.
Right. So would somebody like to make a proposal?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Right, so moved and seconded. We'll go to the vote then.
I'll take the vote, yeah. Councillor Afrez Anwar, to approve or refuse?
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Gordon Birtwistle, to approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Frank Cant, approve or refuse?
Yeah, approve.
Thank you. Councillor Shahid Chowdhury, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Gill, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Approve, thank you. Councillor Sue Graham, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Sarah Horn, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor John Harbour, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Alan Hosker, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Mohammed Ishaq, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Marcus Johnston, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Anne Kelly, approve or refuse?
Approve.
And Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse?
Approve.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Thank you. The application is approved.
Right, thank you very much for that. Next application is Longhay House, Halifax Road in Briarcliff. And for that, I believe we have one speaker.
Yes, Chair, Claire Bradley.
Claire Bradley, yeah. So, Claire.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you have 5 minutes to speak. Whenever you start.
Right. Yeah. As stated in the case officer report, this proposal involves a change of use of a building which was originally erected for use as a garage, store and stables. The building's within the rural area within Briarcliff, and the proposal will all it will need is just some slight alterations to the building in respect of windows. The site's set on the outskirts of Burnley, and the Wellbeing Centre will benefit from its beautiful panoramic rural scenic views. And that'll provide the perfect relaxing environment and location for the privacy of individuals who need self-care. The rural location, with its quiet, tranquil space and views, will be conducive to the overall aims of the business, which is to provide a service which improves mental well-being. The proposed wellness centre would provide services for individuals living in the community, centred on the prevention and reduction of mental health issues. The centre would provide counselling, massage, cooking, baking activities, allotment, horticultural activities and workshops. Arts and crafts and activity classes, and a training room will be provided to educate and promote all areas of well-being. Proposed opening hours are proposed at 9 until 5, Monday to Saturday. The applicant's also exploring avenues with various providers to secure funding and resources for the centre, and the centre would engage with both privately funded and commissioned individuals. In terms of transport, there'll be a shuttle collection and drop-off service for individuals using the service, or there will be on-site parking provided for those that wish to drive there. The centre will create wellness among individuals living in the community, and it seeks to work alongside existing mental health services and alleviate pressure on vital medical and emergency services. The centre will work closely with GPs, hospitals, local authorities, clinical commissioning groups and all emergency services, and will create relationships, awareness and prevention which will reduce costs and valuable time on doctors' surgeries in the borough and other medical emergency services. Now, in the current environment, especially during the COVID pandemic and for the ongoing future of mental health, the Self-Care Centre will provide a greatly needed service within the surrounding community for issues like post-traumatic stress disorder. The aim is to provide an outstanding service and reduce mental health issues within the community and the borough. The case officer has stated in a report how the proposal satisfies the relevant local plan policies, and I hope that committee members will support the officer and approve the application. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Claire. Alec, would you like to come
Yes.
in and give your report?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the application is COU 2020-0238. It is at the committee, as we have received an objection from Councillor Lishman. The proposal itself, as noted by the speaker, is for the change of use of the garage and stables that was approved in 2016. And it is seeking also some slight amendments to fenestration detailing. The change of use would provide a wellness centre, as detailed by the speaker, the services that it would be looking to provide with regard to mental health. In terms of the consultation responses, Lancashire County Council Highways have raised no objection. Burnley and Pendle Ramblers Group again have offered no objection. With regard to the principle, the report has set out in detail that there is policies to support the principle of this type of business in the location. It would provide a sort of a tranquil space, and officers do agree that it is an appropriate setting for what it's trying to achieve. However, given the nature of the recent plan and use class changes, officers have set out conditions to prevent any change of use taking place without further consideration by the council. That is that it then we're not going to see sort of any retail shops or anything that would fall within that use class opening up in this rural location. It's considered that this particular type of business is acceptable for that location. I do note that we have the objection does relate to overdevelopment. However, as stated, the only additions will predominantly be the parking area, which is located to the front of the building and is shielded given the L shape. As such, given that there's no objections from consultees, it's considered to accord with policy. Officers are recommending support subject to the conditions set out. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. Any member?
No requests to speak have been received, Chair.
I move it. I think it should be passed.
Chair.
Yeah, well, it's been moved by Councillor Hosker. Councillor Graham?
Yeah, I did try to put in an RTS, but it takes such a long time to do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think this is a very suitable type of development for a rural area. And as the report clearly states, there's no additional buildings, there's no additional sort of nothing unsympathetic in the proposal. So I'm happy to vote for approval.
Yeah, so you're going to second Councillor?
Yeah, I'll second it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks, Councillor Graham. Anyone else? Well,
no requests, Chair.
Right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the.
We'll go to the vote then, please.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
eventually, yeah, I can now,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Councillor Anwar for approval or refusal.
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Birtwistle for approval or refusal.
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Frank Cant for approval or refusal.
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury for approval or refusal.
For approval.
Councillor Peter Gill for approval or refusal.
Approval.
Councillor Sue Graham for approval or to refuse.
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Hall, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor John Harbour, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Alan Hosker, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Ishtiaq, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Marcus Johnson, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Anne Kelly,
Approve.
or refuse. Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse.
Approve.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse. Councillor Sumner?
Approval.
Thank you. The application is approved. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
So the next application is Townley Hall, Townley Park, Burnley. Would you like to give a report on this one, Alec?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, this application is at committee because it is our own application as the authority. I think the officer report sets out in sort of significant detail the requirements of why the replacement of the existing lath and plaster ceiling is required. I think I probably just want to reiterate that in that the council's heritage and conservation officer has no concerns and raises no objection. And additionally, Historic England have no outstanding concerns since they were provided with the appropriate amount of detail. In terms of publicity, we haven't received any comments, and therefore we're recommending approval subject to the conditions set out. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Again, any member wishing to speak?
No request to speak put forward, Chair.
No,
Move it, Chair.
Right,
Move
yeah,
it.
thank you. Moved by Councillor Graham.
Second it.
Is that Councillor Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
I'll go to
Okay,
the
yeah.
vote then. Thank you. Councillor Frank Cant for approval or refusal.
Yeah, approve.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Gordon Birtwistle, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Chowdhury, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Gill, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Sue Graham, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Sarah Hall, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor John Harbour, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Alan Hosker, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Marcus Johnston, approve or refuse.
Approve.
Councillor Anne Kelly, approve or
Approve.
refuse. Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse. And Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse.
Approval.
Thank you. The application is approved.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, moving on nicely. We've now got number 47, Tomerton Road, Burnley. Again, if Alec would like to outline the report.
Sorry, Chair. Are we at 32 Manchester Road I had on my list? Is that?
Yes, yeah. I've missed one out. Yes, you're quite right. Yeah, it's Manchester Road. My
No,
apologies.
no worries. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the application is COU 2020-0298. It's at the committee as we have received objections. The application is seeking a change of use of the ground floor, which is currently has a lawful use as a hairdresser's, to a coffee shop and bar and offices. The site itself is a Grade 2 listed building and falls within the defined town centre of the local plan in an area which was predominantly commercial in character with a mix of other town centre uses. The application seeking permission for a change of use as the hairdressers is no longer in operation to a licensed coffee shop bar with offices. There are no physical alterations proposed. There are some minor works inside. However, there's so minor that they don't require listed building consent. The building itself is serviced from the rear for waste and refuse. And its hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 11 p.m, 7 days a week, including the bank holidays. The proposal doesn't make for any parking provision, either for customers or staff. Relevant planning history dates back to 2008, where an approval was granted for a change of use from the bank to a public house. And this application, which is before us, Lancashire County Council don't raise any objections, subject to the requirement for the provision of off-street storage and refuse, which is going to be contained within the building. Environmental health, we haven't received any comments at the time of writing, and officers have made an assessment to deal with amenity. Additionally, no comments have been received from street scene. The objections that we have received are from 2 letters, the points of which are summarised in the report, a number of which aren't planning matters, such as the fact that there's too many coffee shops within the town centre. That's not something that we can take account of. But there are others, such as noise and disturbance, and any other nuisance associated with it. Concerns were raised that they're part of the refuse, but as noted, it's going to be held within the building. With regards to the principle of the development, the local plan policy TC2 does identify that main town centre uses, of which these are proposed, would be acceptable in principle, subject to complying with other policies within the plan. Additionally, there's not considered to be any impact on the designated heritage asset because the building is listed, and it is considered that having an occupier in will ensure that the building is sustained. It is noted that given the nature of the proposal, there would likely be some associated noise within the locality. However, taking into consideration it is a town centre, the hours of operation that are proposed, we don't regard that there are any detrimental impacts, particularly given that the surrounding area is predominantly commercial in character. From highways, again, there's no objection, and also it is in a sustainable location, access to buses and trains within walking distance. Therefore, we've got no issues with that. Additionally, refuse and recycling has been dealt with throughout the course of the application following the objection, and therefore we're recommending approval subject to the conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. So, members.
Move it, Chair.
Moved by Councillor Graham.
I'll second it.
Yeah, who's that? Councillor Chowdhury?
Chowdhury.
Yeah, right. So moved and seconded. Have we any further comments? No, I'll take that. Well, we'll go for the vote then.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Frank Cant for approval or refusal?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Birtwistle, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Chowdhury?
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Gill, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Sue Graham, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Sarah Hall, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor John Harbour, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Alan Hosker, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Marcus Johnson, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Anne Kelly, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse?
Approve.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Thank you. The application is approved.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. Right, well, we'll go back to 47 Tomatin Road. Again, I'll ask Alec to give the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the application COU, COU 2020-0316. The application is seeking consent for the change of use of the former public house into a 14-bed HMO with shared facilities, an additional outside amenity space. The application is a resubmission of one that was approved in 2019 through delegated powers. The difference being with this application, it's seeking the small demolition of an outrigger to provide some a greater amount of outdoor space and some minor internal alterations. As set out in the report, there are comments come from LCC Highways that have sought to get 2 number car parking spaces. However, these aren't being provided. Given the nature of the property for 14 dwellings, officers consider that it's more appropriate to have sufficient cycle stores in there over the addition of parking for 2 residents, given the site can occupy 14. The Council's Housing Needs team have raised no objection. Obviously, given the size of the HMO, it would be required to be licensed by the Council's housing team. Additionally, environmental health have no objection, subject to the conditions that were previously imposed on the past application, which again have been put forward in this one. Lancashire Constabulary have offered no objection, and the reason why this one is at planning committee and the previous one wasn't is one letter of objection was received. It does raise a number of issues that aren't particularly relevant to this application, which is around parking and fly tipping and rubbish collection. However, it does state that there is the potential for noise. However, officers consider that it is an appropriate level of living accommodation, and the fallback position is that they do currently have an approval. In terms of impact on the character of the area, there are no major alterations involved to the external appearance of the property, with the exception of the demolition of the outrigger, which we understand to be unsafe anyway and would need to come down. In terms of impact on the amenity of residents, again, there's no additional development over and above which would give rise to overlooking, loss of privacy or overshadowing. And it's considered acceptable in that regard. Whilst the Highways Authority have requested 2 parking spaces, as I set out previously, it's considered that the sufficient outdoor amenity space and given its sustainable location, we're satisfied that there is no requirement to seek those 2 spaces. As such, Chair, we're recommending approval subject to the conditions set out. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. And again, it's over to members.
No request to speak.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, Councillor Kelly?
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I've just got 2 comments about the actual report. First of all, some of the print is so tiny that it's really difficult to read, particularly on the internal proposals. And the other thing is, I know we don't have coloured things anymore, but on page 74 it says the dark blue denotes flood zones 3, the lighter blue flood zone 2. Well, it's black and white and we've no idea which one's light blue and which one's dark blue. Not that I think it's going to make a lot of difference, but just a point about the actual, report, because the one with the internal rooms and everything is very, very tiny to read. Okay, thank you, Ms. Chair.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Somebody's phone's ringing. It's not mine. Right, so would you like to respond to that, Alec, or
I can certainly sort of work with democracy, Chair, to look at how they come through on the reports that are collated, to see if there's a way to sort of amend them or put full plans in an appendix. I'm certain to happily have a chat with them about that. It's not a problem.
yeah. So, any other any member wishing to either move or reject or whatever?
I had good eyesight if you do better. Just
Happy to move it.
absolutely.
Oh, Councillor Hanmore.
It is.
Right, I'm sorry, I thought that was
10482.
oh, right, okay, yeah.
Am I good to go? Sorry, Chair.
Yeah,
I could just hear
as far as
other
I'm
people speak.
concerned, you're good
Yeah,
to go. And
yeah. No, I was just checking, Chair. Sorry, I could just hear other
No
people.
problem. No problem.
Just observations and not so much a concern, but I just wanted to raise something with the officer around the request for parking. So obviously these are premises in my ward in Bancoal, and obviously we'd like to see that building back in use again because it has been shut. It used to be a former public house, but I've got concerns around the parking. So if there's going to be 14 flats in there, and obviously then that's a minimum of 14 residents. So that what that raises for me is that how can we assume that none of those will have vehicles, and that we're just assuming that they will all bring bikes? And is it going to be student accommodation? If it is, there's numerous schemes like this popping up right across the town where we've had discussions about turning into student accommodation. But the issue that I've got with this is that under the officer referred to the issue around licensing, but we've got issues with other schemes similar to this where if it's not students or the desired clientele that they're looking for that come and take up these premises, what we end up with is that the landlords don't actually vet who goes in there. And especially in our ward in Bancoal, it does lead to serious issues around antisocial behaviour and issues around things like that were mentioned before, like fly tipping and things like that. So just from from the landlord's point of view and from the licensing point of view, just need a bit more reassurance really that that will take place and won't affect, which is already one of the most deprived and areas in the town that suffers from things like that with fly tipping and antisocial behaviour. And the last thing we want is something to further impact on that. That's it, Chair.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I did think there was 2 parking spaces available, but I know 2 out of 14 is not a great deal. But would you like to comment on that, Alec?
Certainly, yeah, I can come back to that, Chair. Obviously, the discussions with regards to parking did take place as part of the first application. As I said, the application, with the exception of the loss of the outrigger, was approved at the back end of last year. And the officer at the time with the highways officer set out why they were choosing to not seek those parking places. And again, obviously, as this application's come in, the highways officer has stuck to that. Whilst they would like to see those 2 spaces, the officer has taken on board that it would be very difficult to control how those are allocated to occupiers of the building, and it would be more appropriate, from what they can consider, to have the provision of more open space in the yard and the provision of cycle store. Obviously, taking into account what they will look at is are occupiers of these type of premises likely to be vehicular owners? Obviously, we can't second guess it and know that for definite, but we have taken the condition that there wouldn't be sufficient reason to refuse it without those 2 car parking spaces coming forward. Just moving on to the other elements, obviously, I appreciate the end occupier is difficult to know who that would be. But as we've found recently with the loss of an appeal, they're not areas that planning should be looking to challenge. That would need to be sort of subject to policies that we would be looking to be able to restrict. Unfortunately, we don't have them within the local plan. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Alec. Any further comments?
No requests.
No. Would anyone like to move something?
Move it.
Yeah, move Councillor Graham.
I'll second it.
I haven't moved it. It was Councillor Kelly that moved it.
Oh, sorry.
I was muted at the time. It wasn't.
They're mixing up our voices.
Yeah. I'm sure I saw your lips move, that's all. Yeah, so it's been moved by Councillor Kelly.
I will second it, but it was
Yeah.
Councillor Kelly that moved it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Graham.
Okay, Chair, shall I go to the
It's been
vote?
moved and seconded, and if we can go to the vote, please.
Thank you. Councillor Frank Cant, approval or refusal?
Approve.
Councillor Anwar, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Birtwistle, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Chowdhury, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Gill, approve or refuse?
One, but I approve.
Councillor Graham, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Hall, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Harbour, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Hosker, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Ishtiaq, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Johnson, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Kelly, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Khan, approve or refuse? Councillor Khan?
Approve.
Thank you. And Councillor Sumner, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Approve, thank you. The application is approved, thank you.
Right, again, thank you, everyone. Moving on, the next one is land at Ryland Street, Burnley. And for this one, we do have a speaker.
Chair, sorry to
before we...
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Chair, that I think I missed the item on declaration of interest, so if I could do that at this point, so I'd need to leave.
That
Yes,
declaration of interest has been received. I'll just put Councillor Anwar into the waiting room and then bring him back into the meeting after the item has been decided. Just confirm when he's out of the meeting. Just bear with me. Councillor Anwar is now in the lobby and out of the meeting, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as I said, we do have a speaker, and it's Mr. Anwar. So, Mr. Anwar, you can speak. You've 5 minutes in which to speak, starting from whenever.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Hamad Anwar, Lecturer Smith Architects. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Adil Shafkat, for an application to site a mobile catering unit in the shape of a double-decker bus on Ryland Street in Burnley. We've noticed, by looking online, that there's been some comments and objections to the planning application from the consultees and the public, and we just like to clarify a few points. Beginning with the car park itself, where we're looking to site the mobile catering unit, there's been comments about it being associated with the carpet shop. We just like to clarify that the carpet shop doesn't use the car park, and it's not part of their lease agreement. Hence, our planning application to site the mobile catering unit in this location. Highways have also mentioned about Ryland Street being very congested at the moment. I think if you actually visit the site, it's not overly congested itself. There's obviously congestion on Colne Road, and obviously with Home Bargains and Lidl being in close vicinity, a lot of people use that car park to access the businesses on Colne Road. So we don't think that's going to have a massive impact on obviously Ryland Street itself, because people will obviously still use the car park to access these businesses, as they do for KFC at present. Another comment is from Environmental Health, which is just a standard condition, to be honest, about the appropriate noise and odour filters in the fluid extraction system, which we will be happy to comply with. There's also been comment about the provision of toilets, because it's a bus. We'd just like to clarify that there are toilets on site which are accessed externally from the car park, and these will be accessible to customers if it was granted permission. We'd also like to add that it is the council's duty to promote small businesses and encourage local people, such as the applicant, who is a local resident, to invest in local businesses. And the Steak on a Bus concept is something that is quite a unique attraction and works very well in other towns and cities. And it does actually bring visitors into the town and investment into the town at the same time. With the current pandemic, local businesses, especially on Colne Road, are struggling, and this will provide a unique opportunity to reinvest in local businesses and create new jobs. New visitors to the town to come to this Steak on a Bus concept, they will obviously be spending money and help the local economy to thrive, reinvesting in Burnley and its surrounding areas. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Anwar. Can I go to the officer, Alec?
Yes.
Technical report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, the application is FUL 2020 326, and the application is before the committee as it has gone through the development control calling process from a sufficient number of councillors. So the application is proposing a mobile catering unit in the shape of a bus with takeaway and eat-in facilities. The site is located on Colne Road, which is in the defined development boundary. Therefore, policy SP4 applies. The site is also adjacent to, but not included within the defined Briarcliff Road district centre. The surrounding area is mixed in nature with residential properties on Ryland Street. As noted by the speaker, you do have Lidl opposite, and there are adjacent number of commercial premises in and around the district centre. The site itself has recently had a retrospective approval for the former garage to a carpet shop, something that officers obviously have to take into account when assessing adjacent applications. As the speaker said, it's for the siting of what would be a double-decker bus, that forming a catering unit that offers both a takeaway and eat-in service. It's considered that it would be a sui generis use following amendments to the use class order, and also because of the mixture of sitting and takeaway elements. The bus itself would be positioned 1.3 metres from the gable elevation of number 42 Ryland Street, which is a residential property, and 1.6 metres from the existing carpet shop. It will be set back from Ryland Street, 1.6 metres. However, the plans do show a canopy area alongside bins and the entrance to the bus for those who are seeking to eat in. The bus itself is sort of standard in size. It's nothing different than you generally would find on a normal double-decker bus. 4.4 metres in height. Windows on the first floor, also on the bottom of the bus as well. It's 9.5 metres in length. As you'll see from the pictures provided, it would have quite substantial flue that's attached to the bus that would have a total height of 5.7 metres. The details of that have been put forward as a condition. The operating hours for eating would be 1 till 11 Monday to Saturday and 1 till 10 on a Sunday, with the takeaway operating from 12 till 12 Monday to Friday and 12 till 11 on a Sunday. The business would employ 4 full-time members of staff and 2 part-time, and would allow for up to 22 people to sit within the bus for eating in. As noted, the relevant application is COU 2019-0280, which was for the retrospective change from a car sales room to existing single store extensions to provide additional A1 use, and then a subsequent application, 0341 in 2019. In terms of the responses we've received, we have received an objection from the Highway Authority. That's set out in detail in the report, but advising that it would have an unacceptable impact on the highway due to it where it is sited, and also the existing congestion that the highways officers are aware of, and also the demand that the additional business would place on potential users of the hot food takeaway or sitting in would give rise to in that area. Environmental health, whilst they've not raised a formal objection, they have specified conditions that they would expect should it be approved, which would be in and around ventilation and the extraction of odour. As you'll see with the policy support, it wouldn't comply with the relevant policies of where takeaways are to be expected to be located. And therefore, that element of it isn't supported. With regards to the impact on the amenity of adjacent residents, you'll note just from the plans how close it is to that residential property. Obviously, officers have been out, undertaken a site visit to establish what would be expected should it be approved, and don't consider that it would be an acceptable use in that location, given its provision so close to that existing dwelling. As such, officers are recommending refusal for the 3 reasons set out, which is that the introduction of the bus with its associated fittings, extraction flue and canopy would have a negative impact on the existing character of the area, contrary to policy SP5. Secondly, the proposed use and opening hours would lead to conditions detrimental to the amenity of adjacent properties due to noise and disturbance from cooking orders. The proposal, by virtue of its potential detriment to highway safety, would be unacceptable and therefore contrary to policies TC7, SP5 and the MPPF. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alec. Again, I'll throw it open to members.
Yes, Chair. Councillor Graham and Councillor Kelly have requested to speak.
Yeah, Councillor Kelly.
And also Councillor Ishtiaq.
I'll take them in turn. Councillor Kelly first.
Thank you. You know, I think it's a brilliant concept, but we've got to be concerned about how near that is to people's homes. Not just the nearness of it, but till 11 o'clock at night and take away till midnight with vehicles coming and going. While I think the concept's wonderful, I think the hours and just unacceptable to be so near to people's homes. So I will be voting against it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Ishtiaq.
Hi, sorry, I've been having trouble with this mute on and off button. Yeah, as Councillor Kelly said, in terms of the concept, when I seen this application, I was really pleased to see it is in my ward, to see a concept such as this coming in there, and I think I welcome this. I have been to something similar in Bolton, and it works really well, and I think it lifts the area. It's innovative way of providing catering facilities and attracts a lot of young people, and particularly if we are aiming to, which we are, becoming a university town. So I think I certainly will be supporting this. In terms of being close to the residential area, I don't think this is the only facility that's close to residential. There's many other food outlets with neighbouring residential areas or houses. So, and also I think there is, in terms of where it's located, it's not very close. There is a distance between them, and then it's a commercial premises, and it's situated well because it is a commercial area where the applicants are proposing to site this bus for eating, and I hope members can support this. And I look forward to having stake on a double-decker bus, and I think we should welcome this in Burnley. It is different, and you know, as a town becoming a university town, things like this should be welcomed and encouraged. And the other thing which I noted in the application was, you know, they're looking to create employment. Again, any business that is proposing or got aspirations to do such in current climate should be welcomed. If there are any issues that can be rectified, I suggest the officers speak to the applicants and work through those. So I shall be supporting this, and I welcome this in my ward. And I hope and hopefully encourage other colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Councillor Graham, Chair, and then Councillor Beatrice will wish to speak.
Sorry, who was next?
Councillor Graham, and then Councillor Beatrice will chair.
Right, yeah, Councillor Graham then, please.
This is in my ward as well. I mean, East Jack and I share the same ward. I believe this application should be refused for the 3 reasons set out on page 87 of our pack. I do understand about the concept, and I think it's a novel idea. I'd be happy to see it, but not in this particular area. It's bang up against number 42 Ryland Street, and obviously the other houses near to the other houses on the street. It's going to be the focus of some activity, people coming and going at quite late hours. And, you know, the people that live on Ryland Street are probably used to a fair amount of disruption, but what they don't have on that side of the street in that area is a takeaway. I do believe that the concept is good. It's a novel idea. I think, you know, I'd be happy to go and have a stake in a place like this as well. But this is the wrong siting for it. There will be highways issues. There are already highways issues on Ryland Street because people park on there to go to Lidl instead of getting themselves in and out of the car park. So I believe the officer's recommendation is right and it should be refused. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks very much. Councillor Birtwistle.
Chairman, yeah, I think it's a good concept. I just have one question about it. I understand that if you have a sitting restaurant, you have to have toilet facilities provided. Now, the gentleman speaking on behalf of this at the beginning said there were toilets available on site. Could we know who controls those toilets? Are those toilets controlled by the applicant, or are they controlled by some other person who could, and they're owned by an applicant, can be kept in a proper, clean and usable order? Or are they just like a public toilet, just like a shed in the middle of a car park type of thing that really aren't usable, not controlled, if the bus owners don't own the toilet facilities? Because I do understand that by law, a sitting restaurant has to provide toilet facilities for that. It's in an area where there is a lot of takeaways. It's an area where there's a lot of activity goes on into the evenings, and the concept is good. My only 2 concerns are the toilet facilities. If they're owned by the company who own the bus, and they are an approved condition, and I think I know the car park, and there are some toilets on that car park, but I certainly wouldn't like to go in them myself. But that's a long while ago. If they're controlled by the bus company, they're approved by the Borough Council, and they're owned and looked after properly, then I would like to know the answer before I make my decision. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Chair, Councillor Johnston has also requested to speak.
Yeah, Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a busy area. You know, you don't live in this part of Colne Road and expect to hear birdsong all the time. You know, it's a busy place. But I think that there are certain lines that you have to draw. And this is completely unfair on the people who live at number 42 and the other houses on that road. You know, we wouldn't have allowed a conventional takeaway if someone wanted to build something here rather than a bus. We wouldn't have allowed that. That wouldn't have stood a chance of getting through. I agree with what's been said about the concept. It's novel, it's innovative, it sounds very interesting, but this is just the wrong place for it. So I can't support this, I'm afraid. And what I would do is urge the applicant to see if he can find a better place, a better location for what is a very good idea. I do appreciate that that's a lot easier said than done, because the next place he finds will be a similar issue. But if the applicant can find someone that isn't residential and isn't going to upset the amenity of neighbours, then it should have our full support and backing. But this is a good idea, but in the wrong place.
Right, thank you.
Can I come in there, Chair, for a minute, please?
Yes, yeah, we can come back to you, Councillor Stewart.
Hi there. Yeah, just a question for the officers, really. Where the applicant is proposing to site this bus, is that a residential piece of land or is it a commercial piece of land?
Perhaps Alec can answer that.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Am I right to just come back first and clarify Councillor Birtwhistle's comments with regards to the toilets?
Yes, yes.
So the details of that haven't been supplied in terms of what the officer has dealt with. So that's not been made clear to us as to how that would be done. Obviously, it does specify in the report that those toilets need to be there, but the finalised details aren't in there. And given that we don't agree with the principal location of it, obviously we then didn't seek the further details, so I can't advise any further on the toilets that the speaker specified were available. I think moving on to the next point, the question itself isn't a planning term question in that is it residential or commercial land. It sits within the curtilage of the commercial building. It's within the urban area. We don't set out the use that's residential in that sense, and that's commercial. It's within the curtilage of a commercial building, but it is next to a residential property within the urban boundary, and that's what the policies are about what's acceptable in the urban boundary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further comments?
No further requests at this point, Chair.
No, I mean, I'd just like to say that I agree with Councillor Johnson, really, that it's a wonderful idea, but just not in the right place. And I just hope that if this application is refused, that they manage to find somewhere to put something like that. Because I do agree with, and I think a few people have said, what a wonderful concept. I don't usually say a great deal at these meetings, but that's my little input. If there's no further comments, we'll look for someone to put forward a proposal.
I'll put forward a proposal for refusal.
Can I?
I'll second that.
Can I put forward proposal as well for approval?
Second that approval.
Well,
we take vote on both.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. So the proposal is now for it's been moved and seconded for refusal. So although, well,
I'll take the vote,
I'll leave
Chair.
leave it to Alison to.
Okay.
to
Okay.
do that.
Councillor Frank Cant, approve or refuse?
For refusal.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, approve or refuse?
Not in the
Councillor
room.
Councillor
Anwar.
Ann was not in the meeting.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Apologies. Councillor Gordon Birtwistle, approve or refuse? Refuse.
Refuse.
Councillor Chowdhury, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Gill, approve or refuse?
But hope to see a new application.
Sorry, Councillor Gill, I didn't quite get approve or refuse.
It is refuse. Unfortunately,
Refuse, thank
wrong
you.
location.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor Sarah Hall, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor John Harbour, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor Alan Hosker, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Marcus Johnson, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor Anne Kelly, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse?
Approve.
And Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse?
Refuse.
So the application is refused. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. We're ploughing on quite nicely.
Chair, just to let you know, Councillor Anwar is now back in the meeting.
Oh, right, yeah, that's good. Right, moving on to land opposite 23 March Street, Burnley.
Thank you, Chair.
We've no speakers, so if Alec can.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The application is FUL 2020-0193. It is land opposite 23 March Street, which is an allotment. The application is for a retrospective shed, greenhouse and timber fencing. It's a resubmission of a previously refused application, and it is here because we have received some objections to it. Just for a bit of background into why the application has come forward, the enforcement officer received a complaint that a caravan and associated domestic paraphernalia, sort of garden furniture and various other elements, had been placed on this allotment, and it was essentially being used as a private garden. Upon inspection, the officer went out and noted that that a shed had been erected, a greenhouse, and the fencing that had been put up, as you can see in the photos. Officers then invited the applicant to put an application in to remedy the breaches in terms of the building, remove the caravan and also all the domestic items, and return the site as to what its use is as an allotment. As such, the applications come forward with the details set out in terms of the dimensions of the shed and greenhouse. All associated uses inside have been specified as just being those that would be associated with an allotment, so planting. Further to receiving amended plans, works have now been undertaken for raised beds to be inserted, as you can see within the pictures. From a publicity point of view, LCC Highways have not commented. It's not considered that it has any highways impact, particularly now the caravan's been removed. We did receive an objection from one of the ward councillors that tarmac and the caravan had been parked on there. As stated, those have been removed. And neighbour objections with regards to increased noise disturbance because of the use of machinery, smells and fumes from barbecues, and the layout and appearance because of the concrete base. As noted, those works have now been undertaken, and the majority of the concrete has been taken up for the raised beds. The applicant has been made aware that the site should be used as an allotment and not a garden. that is something that he's aware of now, and the associated works have taken place. Because the application is just for the associated works of the shed and the greenhouse, it's not considered that there'd be any harmful impact on the character of the area, given the appearance would be that of an allotment. There's no residential properties that should be affected because of the works that are associated with it. And should any activity take place that's not considered to be appropriate for an allotment, that would be dealt with outside of planning powers. As such, we're recommending approval subject to the conditions set out. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you, Alec. Right, open to members.
No requests received at this point, Chair.
Move it, Chair.
Seconded.
Right, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Kelly.
Okay, Chair, shall I take the vote?
Right, move to the vote, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Frank Cant, for or against approval?
For approval.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Birtwistle, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Chowdhury, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Gill, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Graham, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Hall, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Harbour, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Hosker, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Ishtiaq, approve or refuse? Councillor Ishtiaq? I'll move on. Councillor Marcus Johnson, approve or refuse?
Approve.
Councillor Anne Kelly, approve or
Approve.
refuse? Councillor Lubna Khan, approve or refuse? Councillor Jeff Sumner, approve or refuse?
Approve.
And I'll go back to Councillor Ishtiaq, approve or refuse?
Approve. I did say, I don't know if you were, I don't think you
Oh,
heard me.
apologies, I did not hear that, apologies. The application is approved.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we now move on to item.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go because I have to go to work, so I'm going to have to leave the meeting, unfortunately.
Right, yeah.
Yep, sorry about that. I can't really do anything else, so apologies. All right, thank you.
That's not a problem.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Carl. Yeah, we're just moving on to item 7, delegated decisions.
I move them, Chair. Saeed Chowdhury, move them.
Yeah. No, nobody any comments then on delegated decisions?
No, I have none.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted. I think that basically brings us to the end. Thank you very much for your participation, and I will close the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, there's a meeting next week, aren't you?